Lemo, there is a man in Australia, Melbourne, Victoria, who has made us...
You're narrowing it down. He's in our studio right now.
I shall go from World, Australia, Victoria, Melbourne, who has made us so proud because he has achieved more than anyone else in this particular field of music. I'm talking about a man who is famous all around the world with the most famous people in the world, Molly Meldrum.
Oh, Molly,
Hello.
good morning.
Bridget, how are you?
Very Molly Meldrum.
Bridget, can you stop all that intro? I mean, like, that is ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, look, I knew you when you were nothing, and look at you now. I know that's right, you knew me when I was nothing, and I still am.
There we go. But Molly...
No, when I think back then, maybe I was a man back then.
but Molly, you've brought out a book that, details the fascinating life that you've had. And a story I found particularly interesting in the book it's about you going to see the Beatles as a young fella at Festival Hall.
Very true. And was thrown out.
And why were you thrown out?
Because I was, as Ronnie Burns describes, who's with me, screaming like a girl and going, John, I love you, Paul, I love you. And then the St. John's and the bouncers said, look, who's got to go, right? And Ronnie said, no, I'll be fine. And I did it again. And this time, unfortunately, in front of me was a girl with long hair, and you pulled her down. She screamed, she was screaming, I was screaming, and they said, he's got to go out, and they threw me out.
And so you got kicked out for pulling a girl's hair, really?
I've never looked that way, Lee.
Molly, your story, though, is truly extraordinary. I mean, how do you go from being a little boy in a little country town to interviewing the people you have, and not just interviewing them, but having friendships and relationships with these people?
I don't know.
Give me the short version, because it is an extraordinary story.
Look, of the way it all travelled, mistake after mistake, from commotion when I went to report it for Go Set, and they asked me to join the crew. I went, no. And then my editor said, no, it would be good for the paper. And I mimed Lady Godiva, Little Red Riding Hood, and one killer, white-out woman like me. And then doing Uptight, and then Happening 70, and then Countdown,
yeah.
Yeah, and it all just...
But people have hosted music shows, but they haven't had the access and the friendship you have had with people like...
It's a good point, Bridget. I mean, you have... let's take Elton John, for example. You've become good friends with Elton John. How do you go from just interviewing someone to developing a good friendship?
I was lucky in the sense of that travel before that writing for Go said, being against... Because I never wanted to be on television, ever, right? Commotion, Uptight, Happening 70, right? But also becoming successful as a record producer, and then all that fell into place somehow, you know?
Yeah.
And then I went to London after I'd done The Real Thing with Russell Morris and Ronnie Burns with Smiley and all that. And I was resident at this place of EMI in London with Dad Mackay, who was an amazing record producer. Did, Johnny Fallon's One and all that, right? And right next door was Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And I worked at Abbey Road, and I got to know Terry Doran, who looked after the Beatles after Brian Epstein died, and getting to meet the Beatles, and then working for Apple. So it all
went like that. From there.
Yeah.
Molly, you've called...
Did the Beatles remember you from Festival Hall?
There's the hair puller.
No, but there was a piece of footage where at Live 8 in London, and Paul was there, and I stopped Paul to talk to him for Foxtel.
Yeah.
And I told him the story about how I was thrown out of...
Yeah.
And I'd run out at Southern Cross and all that thing, you know. And I said, all I wanted was your autograph. I said, I bet you didn't get it. I said, well, no, I didn't. And then he said, well, can you sign my program? Because I want you want me to sign your book? I said, you're mad. But it all worked in a thing, and with John and Paul and George and Ringo, because I worked there with them and that, and then the world scoop of John announcing with Yoko that the Beatles were breaking up, which I didn't even realise that's how bad a journalist I am.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was told. my God, the bells are breaking. I said, where'd you hear that from?
I heard it from you.
That's in your bloody interview. What are you talking about?
But Molly, I think that's what's so lovable about you is you didn't set out to become this TV personality. You are yourself, and you're just so loved by people in Australia. I mean, you really are. I'm not pumping your tyres. It's a fact.
Yes, you are.
Well, but it's true. And Molly,
Did you ever imagine, whatever you know about this, Silly Man,
Yeah.
that Bridget and I actually sang?
You
a
sang
song
together?
at the place? Yes. Is it
did.
true?
We
You
sang
tell
in
us
front of a
story.
big audience. We
what-
sang
what
Don't
did you-
Go Breaking My
Don't-
Heart. I was Kiki D and you were Elton John.
Elton John.
Yeah.
We could have done the Captain to Neil now, I think about it.
Molly, if you were reviewing your performance as a professional music boffin, what would have you given yourselves out of 10?
None.
It was an ugly night, is all I can say. Hey, Molly, tell us,
None from my whole career. None. I'm not talking about me and Bridget. I'm talking about everything.
if anyone's been lucky enough to go into Molly's house, he's got a most magnificent house full of Egyptian antiques and all sorts of things. But very interesting people have been in that house. Princess Di, for example. Can you
Yes.
tell us about that story? Because we didn't know that.
Well, I was looking after Princess Diana and Prince Charles for Rocking with the Royals, which we did for the Silver Jubilee of the Queen from England.
Yes,
No
Elizabeth.
Queens back here in Australia, including myself.
That was a different party. That's in chapter 15, if anyone's interested.
Yeah. And we'd been to a charity thing over in Kew, and on the way back, going back to Government House, we came down High Street in Richmond, and I said to Diana, I said, that's when I live. I said, well, can I come in? I like to see, and I went, no, keep going. No, I'd really like it, because I hear you about your house and Egyptian.
Yeah.
I said, okay, let's go in then. And I walked down the hallway of the house, Bridget's been there, and Lynn Rundell, who was my PA at the time, and Lynn Rundell, like Chow Baby, all that, you know.
Yeah.
And I walked in, Lynn was cleaning something in the kitchen, like behind the bench room. And I went, Princess Diana, this is my personal assistant, Lynn Rundell. Lynn, this is Her Royal Highness, Princess Diana. And she looked up, still cleaning, and went, you've got to be effing kidding. And she laughed and sat down, and then it came and said, well, do you want a bloody cup of tea or not?
So
That's funny.
Oh, the people have been through that house, though.
Yeah, a long list. Many of them spoken about in the book, of course. And Molly, we should mention the 40 Years of Countdown. There's a CD out, and the ABC are airing a special as well.
Yeah, there's apparently two. I don't know much about this. I've done some interviews with them, but...
I'll tell you, 7:40 on the 16th and the 23rd of November is the Countdown special on the ABC, which is good. Also, your Countdown 40th Anniversary 2 CD collection is out now. Did you know that?
No.
All right, that's a good one to get.
All right, what about this one, Molly? Do you know that at the ARIAs this year, you'll be entered into the Hall of Fame?
I've been told that, yes.
The only non-musician ever to be entered. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Actually, when they told me that, and they said that, you're the only... I said,
The only
I'm
one.
not saying Queen inducted into the Hall of Fame. God, say, please don't say that.
What are they going to say next? Anyway, we're all very excited about that, Molly. And we're also something... we received an email from a listener here called Jane. And Jane said to us in her email, she said, look, Molly Meldrum has been in the music business for 50 years. He's a legend. He's about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Why isn't there a lane in the city named after Molly Meldrum? And we thought, well, what a magnificent idea. We ran it past the Lord Mayor. He said, what a wonderful idea. He can raise it with council. We spoke to the Registrar of Street Names, and they said...
But he did point out you've got to be dead to get one.
But he said they do make exceptions.
They'll make exception for
They
you.
make exceptions. We thought we'd check with you, Molly. What are your
There's
thoughts?
no exception on that because I've been dead for years.
We'll tell them that and see if it helps. But they will make an exception, Molly Meldrum, for you. Would you like a lane? We would love to get you a lane.
I'd find that very embarrassing because, I
Come on. Molly Meldrum Lane. Imagine what would go on in it.
God, Bridget, you are a disaster. Well, if it's a lane with homeless people, deros, all that, then Okay.
I'm sure we can make those arrangements.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about your book, The Never-Ending, Ever-Ending Story, Ian Molly Meldrum. You've got a picture of yourself on this book. Apparently there's another one coming out with Ziggy, your beautiful dog Ziggy, on the front.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's a special edition, only not on sale apparently, but because I didn't want my doll on the front cover of the book. I wanted the painting that Nicole Rose Slater, Billy Slater's wife, had done, and do that. And they said, no, we're going to put you on the front cover, right? And I went, oh. So I lost the argument of that one. But they've then agreed to do a special edition of the front cover like that with my acknowledgements, everyone in the book itself. And then I'll give you both one because that is it. But I'll try to talk the publicist into if they do a reprint. Can we use that one, not me? The only thing on that one, of that photo of me in the front, is in my hand there is a ring, the cowboy ring.
Yep.
That my dear friend gave me. And it was stolen from the house. So if we can find that, it'd be fantastic.
Oh, that's worth it then, just to find that.
Well, that would be nice to find that. And Ziggy is, of course, in the studio. Does Ziggy speak up on instruction? Can we get a bark out of Ziggy? Ziggy?
Do you talk, Ziggy?
He was
Ziggy's looking at me confused.
He was heavy breathing before. That wasn't me.
What are you on about?
No, Ziggy is my best friend, right?
Well, along with, of course, the St Kilda Football Club, all the boys from there, and the Melbourne Storm.
And my partner, Jan from Thailand, he's coming back.
Great.
For a couple of weeks, so I'll bring him in here. And
good.
I think you've met Jan. Yeah?
I've met Jan. He's lovely.
Yeah, he's lovely.
Well, all I can say, Molly Meldrum, is you should be very proud of yourself. I know you're a humble man, but you've just got to enjoy this moment. I know you're finding it stressful, but enjoy this moment because it's very, very exciting. And the never ever-ending story is out now. And, of course, we mentioned the countdown specials and the CD. We'll have all that on our website.
Do you want to read it as it should be said, right?
All right. Yeah, you do it.
All right. I've got to thank, this time with you, to thank the Alfred Hospital and Professor Jeff Rosenfeld, who's one of the best neurologists in the world, and also advised for Michael Schumacher and all the people like that, right? And the Epworth, just around the corner, I can see it now.
Yeah.
And they're going, come back, we still need to do something to you, right? But they were absolutely fantastic, you know. And when they were telling me that I had my recovery full rate, all that, and my memory was, my brain was whatever, and my memory was, and my brother or Yao, my PA, I knew which said it to the doctors, but one of them said, Jesus Christ, really? God, I hope he remembers he's gay. We can't go all through that again.
Because you could have woken up with something completely different going on. Some people wake up speaking Chinese.
Anything's possible.
Well, they got rid of your ums, and I think that's amazing in itself. Thank you for joining us today.
Be very careful, Richard. I might fancy you next.
Oh, well, you're only human, Mole, let's be honest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.